down here is like Montrose Harbor and Wrigley Fields down here and so on. So I said, well, you know, who's going to run? And it turned out that nobody was going to run. And so I said, well, you know, this isn't right. I said, I can't, I started, you know, when I found out the redistricting, I tried to find out who the person was. It was Jan Schakowsky, and she's very liberal. I wouldn't say I'm ultra conservative, but I'm certainly more on the conservative side. And I said, well, I don't want her to be my congressman. And I just couldn't find anybody who's interested in running. I don't know whether it was money, and I thought it probably wasn't money because Bob Dole he lives in Kenilworth, and you know, he's got a big house, and so they've got a family business. So I didn't think it was money. For some reason, maybe people thought she was unbeatable, but I just said, you know what, I can't stand for this. So I said, well, I started to think about it, and I decided that I would run. And sure enough, the first person I went to was the township committeeman where I live, and the first question they asked me was, how much money do you have? Which I kind of suspected that would be a question, but you know, you're always a little bit surprised when you get that one question that you think is, you know, there's more important things than just that. I thought the Republican Party would want to embrace somebody who was running against Jan Schakowsky, because you think she's kind of the opposite of what the Republican Party stands for. And anyway, so I got my signatures on my petitions, and there was one other person who handed in completed petitions, but we got her removed from the ballot because she didn't have any valid signatures. Same thing happened in 2010. I don't know. Joel Pollack was the guy who ran then. I don't know if you knew his name or not.
Sounds familiar.
Okay. So anyway, I decided to run. I did the petitions, and so here I am. And I'm trying to fight against this person who's been in office a long time, but I think it can be done. I think people are saying, you know, she's been in office long enough. Come on in. Hello. We're here for the meeting. This is a small meeting, so we're just being intimate. I'm Tim Wolf.
Oh, nice to meet you, Tim.
Nice to meet you. This is Virginia, and your name is?
Jeff.
Jeff, good to meet you, Jeff. This is Brian here.
One of Ms. Wilson. Okay, great. Nice to meet you.
Just real quickly, I was explaining to Virginia why I decided to run with the redistricting. You might want to show them the map there. You know, Jan Schakowsky would be my new representative, assuming nobody ran against her and beat her. And I started to find out a little bit about her, and I said, you know, she's not. I don't want her to be my congressman. She's too liberal. I mean, I really think this country is in a position that if we re-elect President Obama and people like Jan Schakowsky and Nancy Pelosi, I don't know that we'll recover. I think it will become, in a short order, a full socialist country. And we're well on our way, whether people like to recognize it or not. You know, there's just so many social policies. The government's involved in everything.
Which social policies?
Well, you're looking at having Obamacare, or you know, moving towards socialized medicine where the government's overstepping, you know, overseeing all that. You've got Social Security, which has really become an integral part of people's retirement, and that's what it wasn't meant for. You've got the Federal Reserve System where people really don't feel comfortable that they know what's going on. You practically look at any area of society, the government's involved, and they're involved to such an extent that it, you know, you have to take into consideration all the government, and you take into consideration through the taxes. The more there are taxes, the more they have control over your lives. It's just the way it is. I mean, we see here in Illinois, real estate taxes are going up, the pensions are getting higher, and people are saying, we have to move from the state, we can't afford it. But, you know, if that's going to happen all across the United States, where are people going to go? I mean, going from Illinois to Iowa is not going to make any difference as far as your federal income taxes, your Social Security taxes, government oversight. I mean, that's going to be the same in every place. So I just really feel the government's overstepped what they're supposed to be doing constitutionally. I think the people within the legislative branch being Congress, they've really given away a lot of their power to the executive branch. Just not to get too far, maybe it might answer some questions would come up anyway, but this Health and Human Services mandate, are you familiar with that? Where all health insurance policies starting August 1st have to include contraceptives as part of the policy, as part of the benefit. And that's the premiums everybody's going to pay, man, woman, child, whether you want it or whether you don't want it. But this mandate has been issued by the executive branch. Well, to me, that's really a law. They're telling you what you have to do. That's a law. That's something Congress should be doing. So that's just an example of where I say, Congress has really given up their authority. You've got a situation where that mandate is really, in many people's minds, stepping on people's First Amendment rights. It's telling faith-based organizations what they have to do. You have, 43 different Catholic organizations suing HHS over this because they feel it's a violation of their First Amendment rights, which I believe it is. I mean, I believe it clearly is.
If you had to pick one issue, which issue would you, I think there's one issue that Jan Schakowsky is very vulnerable on. And the banks love her and she loves the banks. That's a problem.
Okay. Well, to answer your question directly, is there one issue? I think the one issue that I think she's most vulnerable on is, and maybe this isn't an issue to you, but she's completely tied into President Obama. So, anything President Obama does, or practically anything, she'll support. And I think that's a real weakness. You maybe talking about the banking system. She's supposedly had something to do with banking collapses in the past and things like that. I'm kind of peripherally familiar with that issue, if that's what you're saying.
Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac never had a better friend than Jan Schakowsky, but you can say that of a lot of Republicans.
Sure.
If we don't, the banks have captured Washington, D.C. The financial system has captured Washington, D.C. And if all you have to do is walk around with a sign that says, Jan loves the banks, and the banks love Jan. And that's the most damage you can do to that candidate. However, if you were a gay Republican, that would make you a lot more electable. And I mean, I'm a gay man, I'm just saying, if we want to beat Jan Schakowsky, we need to get somebody who's very progressive on social issues and somebody who can really hit hard on financial issues. And then she'll lose. And she's totally duplicitous.
Okay. I mean, I think I would agree. From what I've seen of what she's done, she shouldn't be in Congress for one thing, because if nothing else, her situation with her husband.
Well, that was her husband's thing, but I think she's compromised, but the district continues to re-elect just because he went to jail with her campaign finances, that's nothing.
Well, she ends up, because he didn't report all of his income, she in essence then filed a fraudulent tax return. I think that's in the court records. I don't have that right here in front of me, but I think I can find
No,
it.
they're not going to get her on that. They can get her on the fact that she supported Fannie and Freddie when she knew that things had gotten carried away.
Okay. Would you have some areas you think I should be looking to help me kind of uncover this a little bit to get more familiar with
Look
this?
where our campaign financing's come for the last, since Sidney left office.
Mhm.
Look where the money's coming from.
Okay. Well, all right, let's just say the money came from Chase Bank or something, okay?
Let's just say, yeah,
Okay.
just a little bit of it.
All right,
Yeah.
well, I mean, because unless you're saying that just because the money comes from the bank doesn't by itself, indicate there's some financial misdealing there or something. Do you agree or not agree? I mean, there has to be something just beyond giving the money, and unless it's an excess amount, then you might have to say, because she's on a banking committee and she
when
received this
we
much
rescued
money.
the banks in 2008 and 2009, and those guys were still giving themselves record bonuses in
Right.
2009 and 2010, then something is very, very, very wrong in the system, that the Republicans and the Democrats have been captured by the financial system. None of the very little of the 700 million TARP money, and God knows the trillions that has been taken on by the Fed since this financial crisis, made it to any of the homeowners. And look at the way the people in the Senate addressed Timothy Geithner, John Corzine, no, not John Corzine, Jamie Dimon, when he testified in front of Congress, who, by the way, wore his presidential cufflinks. I mean, they kissed his ass. And this guy's one of the culprits. And at the time, he can only claim $2 billion in losses, which are going to end up somewhere between 9 and 15 billion. I mean, the system is totally corrupt. And I can tell you, the Tea Party and the Occupy Wall Street people are on to exactly the right thing. They come from two totally different areas.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not campaigning on that issue, then you know what, forget about it. That's what I'm saying. And by the way, you're going to have to explain to me, if you're against public health care, you're going to have to explain to me how in Canada, where I live, because I did some shows there, and I'm a log cabin Republican, how do they pay 60 cents on the dollars and get much better child infancy mortality rates are much better than the United States, and there are men and women live longer in Canada for 60 cents on the dollar. Now explain to me how that happens if you don't like public health care. Okay? You better start explaining that, because I'll explain it to you. The people there have a reason to stay healthy, because the medical industrial complex does not see them as a walking profit center for them. And that's the way they see every person in the United States that's got a health plan, as a walking profit center. And you cannot have health care like that in a country as advanced as this one. It is totally immoral.
We've got the best healthcare system in the whole world.
No, we don't.
Why
We
do
have
people
one of
think
the
that's not
worst.
good?
If you think we've got one of the best, you are totally mistaken, lady. Look at our infant mortality rates rank 25th. We are way down the list in public health in this country. And it's a myth. If you think, I can tell you, you're wrong about that. Go to your computer at home and read how long Americans live compared to people in Canada.
Well, there may
And read
be-
how much they spend compared to us. It is totally and completely corrupt. We are a walking profit center.
Why do people from other countries, including Canada, come to our country for their health
The
care?
very richest come down here occasionally because they can afford it and they want service right away.
Well, that's important, isn't it?
No, because they serve most of the people in the society. We do not serve most of the people. Why is our infant mortality model 25th in the world?
I don't know.
Well, you better start answering that question. And why do we pay 66% more than the Canadians per capita to get a really lousy infant mortality rate and get death rates that are much higher per capita and much earlier? You better start thinking about that, because I'm a walking profit center and I know it. And the country's going to collapse. Look at the amount of money German doctors make and what American doctors make. It's totally correct. So that's a system that you can run on and you can win, because that's a popular issue in this.
Well, I know that the healthcare issue is certainly one of the top issues, and the more I see, I think it's especially important for older Americans. They're very concerned about what's happening, what's going to happen.
Younger Americans, baby Americans, infant Americans, children Americans. George, okay, I am a Republican. I don't sound like a Republican, but I can tell you, if the Republicans are going to win, they're going to have to face certain issues. They're going to have to quit bashing gay men and lesbians. Okay, they're going to have to drop the whole abortion thing. Women have the right to do with their bodies what they want to do with it. Okay, and they're going to have to jump on the public health care bandwagon, get it under control before it takes this country down. Okay. Jan Schakowsky is totally corrupt and duplicitous. She is a total pawn of the medical industrial complex and military industrial complex. So if you want to win, and God knows, I get behind somebody who wants to win. We're getting frustrated here. So anyway, I've said too much. If you think healthcare in this country is good, you need to go to Germany, you need to go to France, you need to go to Canada, you need to go to Taiwan, you need to go to Singapore, you need to go to Hong Kong, you need to go to Italy, you need to go to Argentina, you need to go to Costa Rica.
Sir, I work for the American College of Surgeons, so I live.
Well, then you have a little biased attitude there. Good luck with that. We're not even close to being number one in the world. We are way, way, way down the list when it comes. We are the most expensive by far.
Well, I think we can all agree that we need to make changes. There's no
You
doubt
got
about
it.
it.
Well, good luck.
That's true.
I hope you latch on to the issues that can get a Republican elected, because we need somebody with fiscal responsibility, and that's going to start with a public health care system that we're going to bring down costs.
Okay, all right.
Good luck.
Are you 100% for single pay or Obamacare, or you're more interested in getting
I think we need to look
the
at
costs in line?
Taiwan, Germany, and Canada and realize, why are they spending so much less than us and getting so much better results? We've got to answer that question. And as a Republican, I can only say, if we don't get those costs under control, then we're never going to come out of this horrible recession that we're in right now, or depression, actually. And somebody's got to start broadcasting it out there that our health system is not number one. It's not as good as Argentina's. I just spent 6 weeks in Buenos Aires, and our health care for the public, general public, is not as good as
All right, I promise I will look into some of those numbers.
Okay.
All right,
You get a
thanks.
hold of me, Jeff Lewis. I live right here on Gordon Terrace. If you want to,
Thanks, Jeff.
I agree with you. I hope we're still friends.
Well, good luck. Good luck. But don't start telling people how good our health system is. Our health system is stinko compared to Canada's. And we pay so much more and we get so much less. And that's just the sad truth of it.
Okay.
I didn't plan to argue with anybody, but I totally disagree with him. I know people from Canada who've had to come to America for health care because they had serious issues that needed immediate attention.
I've heard people waiting up 8 months for emergency care. People with cancer treatments are waiting a lot of months.
Well, I think, my opinion, we have a constitution and we are founded based upon certain principles, and I think that we have to decide, are we going to stay with those principles, or are we going to, go a different direction? And we've gone a different direction in many respects. I think we're at the point of saying, do we want to go the rest of the way, this other way, or do we want to get back at least closer to what, this country was founded upon, being certain principles, a certain way of doing business, the capitalistic system, free market system. And if we are going to say that the healthcare system and the retirement system should be in the hands of the government, then that's what I'll fight against. I don't think we need to be doing that. Where has the government succeeded in what they've done? The argument I can't understand as far as the Obama health care. Okay, you want to give them money, and you want to give the government money, and you want to give them authority. Okay, how can you trust them when you first of all say you disapprove of 90% of what Congress does? Congress has allowed all the Social Security money that's been collected over the years to be used for general purposes. Where's that money? Unemployment has been kind of in shambles for years. I mean, we started the Great Society in the 60s, and there's probably just as many people in poverty today. The system has not gotten better in many respects, and so why should we be relying on government to do that? There are certain functions government has to provide, there's no doubt about it, and there are certain areas the government has to be involved in regards to health care. But we don't need them to oversee it, the way that they're proposing.
It seems like the more government gets involved in things, the more complicated and rotten things get.
Yes, I agree. They're supposed to be there for our defense, to maintain our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. But they're not there to make sure that everybody gets something that everybody gets the same output, the same, fairness. Everybody has the same opportunities, but everybody's not guaranteed the same outcomes. So I think we need to get back to that. And I think we just need to look to this Chick-fil-A situation as a perfect example of how far this country has gone. People are being told, we don't want your business because of the individual owner's personal view, not how they conduct business, but just how the president and CEO has a personal belief. And the company's being ostracized for that. That just shows how far we've come, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. But I used to serve as an election judge, Republican election judge. And out of about between 700 and 800 voters in that district, in that precinct, only about 30 were Republicans. So, and I know a lot of times when you go to vote, there's no Republican on the ballot for certain offices. So this city and state is, well, I guess not the whole state, but the city is sure tied up with the Democrats.
Yeah. Well, I think that this year, I really think we have an opportunity to kind of make a change. This morning I was in Oriole Park. I don't know if you're familiar with Oriole Park, but it's in Chicago. And we were talking about the fact that, or I was talking about the fact that there are six new Republicans running for the state legislature. I think that there's opportunities there for a couple of them to win. I think all 6 of them seem to be very qualified, good people. And so just in District 9, we have the capacity to convert this from a Democratic state to at least not a completely controlled Democratic state. We need 6 people in the House of Representatives, in the State House, to make Republicans the majority, and then therefore get rid of Mike Madigan as Speaker of the House. So, not only if we can get Jan Schakowsky out of office, we can also get some of these other people in, and I think we can make a great difference for Illinois. But we need, people to volunteer. We need people to make contributions, and that's where my difficulty is. I don't know if it's because it's still a little early, if people are angry at the incumbent, but maybe not angry enough to actually get a little more active. But I think the prospects are out there. You can see by the map that the district is substantially bigger than it was before. Probably 100 to 125,000 new votes, which are certainly more conservative than Evanston and Chicago, in general. So.
Can you get somebody in the Illinois Republican Party behind you?
The Illinois Republican Party has, they along with the National Party have kind of focused in on just a few races, and they're telling me I'm not one of them. So what they're saying I need to be able to do if I want their support, and to some degree I'm not sure at this point, if I really want their support, because to some degree I think I can honestly say, if the Republicans aren't supporting me, I'm running as an American, and I'm doing that kind of on my own. But what they are looking for, if they were to help, they say they want to see a poll to see what, kind of where things stand in terms of, where she's at, where I'm at, and then they want to see some kind of organization. Now, I personally think, if there were a poll and it showed I was in good, in a fairly good position, that might be something that starts to get volunteers more active. Problem is, I'm not sure what a poll costs, and I need people to make some contributions. So, unfortunately, you need money to run the campaign. That's probably my biggest need, is for people to step up and start contributing. If somebody could say you can have one thing, what would it be? Other than the fact that I've already won the race, I would say if I could get thousands of people to give $25 or $50, that's what I would want. Because whether a person gives $10 or a person gives $100 or $2,000, I think if they make that investment. If they mentally said, I'm gonna support this person, I think that goes a long way to, you know, securing that vote and securing their help, because even if they're only making a $10 contribution, they're probably not gonna make that contribution unless they want you to win.
Yeah.
So
Do you-
that's where I'm trying to get people to take that step.
Do you ever listen to the Don Wade and Roma show? Don and
I do
Don
occasionally, and people, everybody asks, are you gonna be on that show, can you get on that show?
Yeah.
And they say that you have to have a reason to be on there. Running against James Schakowsky, according to them, is not reason enough. So,
I'm surprised because I know they don't like her.
well, they have her on and they give her a hard time, but, you know, she keeps coming back for more. So I'm not sure, but I'll try and get on there. I have been on a couple other radio stations, WIND, which is a local station out of Elk Grove Village. It might be all right tonight, but it's a local station, although it's a bigger station. It's not, you know, like a college campus type thing. And I've been on a radio station that's sponsored by Lighthouse for the Blind. And then I've been on a couple of local cable programs, and I'm going to be on another one actually in about, I think a week from Monday is the tape, a show called Talk of the Town. Have you heard of that one?
That sounds a little familiar. I haven't seen it.
The other one is called Contempo. They're on Comcast. So I'm out there trying to get on different outlets, but you know some of them are tough to get on. I need to figure out. I need people to call in, and I need to figure out what's the issue that can kind of break through the resistance they're putting to getting people on. I mean, I'm sure that probably as it gets closer to like October, they'll probably have, you know, more candidates on, you know, all the candidates. But they are, WLS and the AARP are actually having a candidates forum through on WLS. But they're only having Bob Dole's race, Joe Walsh's race, and Judy Biggert's race. So District 9 is not involved. And kind of the position I'm trying to take in talking to people is not that you're not supporting Tim Wolf or that you're not having Tim Wolf on your radio station, but that you're not giving the voters of District 9 the information they need. You're kind of just allowing them to have Jan Schakowsky win another again, because people need to get. I need to get my name out. Even though people may not like her, if they don't know who the other guy is, they're more than likely just going to say, "I'll vote for her again." So I need to get my name out. As a matter of fact, Monday we're going to all the train stations that are new to the district: Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, Kenilworth, Gwinnett, Glenview, Northbrook, and specifically with the flyer, trying to tell people that you may be in District 9 and you need to look at the facts and you need to look to see who's running in that race. So hopefully that'll help, but I think that's something we're going to have to kind of pound on from now until beginning of October. Hopefully by the beginning of October, everybody, or at least most people will know that. Most people will know who's running, and I've been very happy with. As I've gone out and talked to people, I've gone to Chicago, I've gone to Evanston, I've gone to probably every township or ward, and I've been very happy with the reception. I've had very few people say, "Oh, Republicans, get away from me," or take the literature and throw it away. I haven't had that hardly at all, and I don't think I can't think of too many situations where volunteers or interns who have passed out stuff have had any negative experiences either.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it's very encouraging. Very encouraging. So maybe that's the one thing I should do is say, okay, here's what's going to cost for a poll. Can you contribute so we can get a poll and see where we're at? At the primary, just to kind of tell you a little bit about the last election, Jan Schakowsky won by about 2-1 over Joel Pollack. And in Evanston, Joel Pollack only got about 15% of the vote. And in Chicago, we got about 25% of those. In the primary, if I only lost in the suburbs by about 2,000 votes, and that was because of Evanston. I think in Evanston, I lost by about 8,000 votes. So to me, that was very encouraging. I think in the suburbs, Chikowski got 30,000 votes. I think I got 27, close to 28,000.
Wow.
And even in Chicago, even though I didn't get a great total, I got 50% more than Joe Pollard did. So, and there were a lot fewer people who voted in the primary who voted Democratic. So I feel encouraged there's some, some possibilities out there. So I really think if there were a poll, I think I would probably be in the 40 to 45% range, which I think is, that's not too far away from the 51% we'd want to get to win. So I think it's a possibility.
Okay, is there anything I can do to help you?
Okay. The things you could do to help me would be a couple. One, as I mentioned, make a small contribution, that'd be great. If you know friends or neighbors you can call. If you own a home, or, you could put out a sign. You could make phone calls for me. Other than just your friends and neighbors, we do call independents in the Chicagoland area. To try and tell them that there is another person running in District 9 and who it is, which could be. So those are the kind of things that you could do.
I listened. I thought you said you're in District 10 before, but it's District 9.
Right. Arlington Heights, most of Arlington Heights and still is in District 10. The vote in November is for the people who take office in January. So those people are running the people who are running for the November election are running to go into the new district. So technically, in either case, you're going to have the 9th district congressman. But my congressman will technically be Bob Dole until January 2nd. But he's not on the ballot for the November election, and therefore he will not be the congressman starting January 3rd. So that's what this election is about. Who's going to take office January 3rd? So it's a little confusing, I know, for a lot of people, but that's what I'm running to become the new congressman in January. So until then, nothing changes in terms of who your congressman is.
Okay.
Would you like to fill out a volunteer form so I can at least have your name and address? And do you have an email address?
No, actually, I don't have
That's okay.
email. I don't have a whole lot of energy, and I do I have 2 different volunteer jobs,
Mhm.
but so I can't promise that I'd be a good volunteer, but I will give you my name and address.
Okay. All right. Like I said, if you could just call your friends and your neighbors, and you might want to take a little literature with you, and just give them a
that'd be
piece.
good.
Yeah. Let me grab a volunteer form and some literature.
Okay.